Hello, welcome to Mission Driven Monday. I'm here with my friend Kristen Witzel. She is the founder and executive director of KidsBoost, which is an organization that empowers kids to give back to their communities. And Kristen has a very interesting story. She grew up here in Georgia. She's a Georgia native. She went to the University of Georgia, and she actually worked at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta as a child life specialist, which was initially actually what drew me to her, because at that time I was working with kids who had cancer, and I was interested in Kristen's story and how she engaged with families in that environment. But because I also have an adventure club for 4th and 5th grade girls, I found out that Kristen had this organization, KidsBoost. And my kids were always asking, how can I help? What can we do? How can we raise money for this organization or that organization? Or how can we get involved? And they had so many great ideas. And so I was able to connect with Kristen over this last year, and one of our girls actually partnered with KidsBoost to fundraise for her own organization. And it's just been really fun to see what you're doing at KidsBoost. And I'm just excited to learn more about your story in an interview you here today. So thanks for being with me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So every week we ask the same 3 questions. Love these questions because the answers are always different.
I'm sure.
I know. So Kristen, when you look back over your life and all that you've done, tell me what are you proudest of?
It's a tough question, but I think the thing that comes to mind, especially recently, is I have an 11-year-old boy, and his name is Parker, and he just finished up 5th grade. But rewind, and I started KidsBoost when he was in kindergarten. That's when I had the idea, and I did it for a couple different reasons. As you mentioned, I worked at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I loved my job. I mean, loved it. But I saw this need that was there, that I met the most amazing kids, and they all had this innate desire to give back or to make a difference. But I realized that they just needed a little bit of guidance, and they needed a little bit of support. And so I had the idea of KidsBoost, but I sat on it for a couple of years because at the time I was a single mom and I loved my job. So it was like, why would I it just seemed overwhelming at the time. Right. And so anyway, but it kept sitting on me. The idea was just kind of kept knocking. It was and I kept kind of dreaming about it, if you will. Mm-hmm. And so I took this crazy leap of faith when my son went to kindergarten. And it was to quit my job. I was in a management job at the time, quit my job, and to start KidsBoost. And I think everybody in my family, all my friends, thought I was having this quarter life crisis or what the heck is she doing? Right. But what I realized is that my why for starting KidsBoost was to help kids see the joys of giving and to empower them to make a difference by doing what they love. Mm-hmm. But my need behind my why, my personal need behind that, was that I've waited my whole life to be a mom. I've always known that I wanted to be a mom. And here I have this great kid in front of me, and I wanted to be a room mom. I wanted to be very active in his life. I wanted to be very involved, but my job at the time didn't allow me that. I was sitting in 4 hours of traffic every day. He was going to have to go to after school. And I really wanted to create a life that allowed me to pursue my passion, pursue my dream, but at the same time, be a mom. And as dorky as it sounds, be a room mom and be there when he gets off the bus. Yeah. But I was a single mom, and it was really scary because, I don't have anybody to fall back on. But so I remember thinking very, very clear, and actually even writing it down when Parker was in about kindergarten or 1st grade. And throughout the years, I kept reminding myself that if we can just make it through 5th grade, if I can, because as you know, if you start a nonprofit, you're not in it for the money. Right. I didn't get a steady paycheck. And so we were living off of what I say, peanut butter and a prayer. Mm. We literally, it was, if we were going to a movie, it was the free movie in the park. If we never went out to eat, we ate a lot of peanut butter. And we cut everything. And, there were times where I didn't know that if I could pay my mortgage or if I could buy groceries that week. And by the grace of God, it was amazing how God provides and all of those things, it all worked out. But I will say that those years were so tough that I just kept thinking, if you can get through these elementary ages, because then they go to middle school and they don't need you in the classroom.
Right.
They don't need you to volunteer for the fundraiser or for the field trip.
Yeah.
But that was really important to me. And so all that to say is he just graduated 5th grade. And so I just right now, I think I'm really proud that I did it. We live very minimally. We continue to do so. But more than anything, I was present for my child, and I took in all those moments while also pursuing my passion and this dream of KidsBoost.
I love hearing you say that, because there was something that I heard recently. I am reading Melinda Gates' new book called The Power of Lift.
Yes.
And she has a chapter in there where she talks about unpaid work, and she talks about motherhood and how, I don't know, sometimes having children, she talked about it as, being this extra burden that we carry. And I thought, no. I feel like I have to go back and reread this chapter because maybe I didn't understand. Because I feel like I talk to so many moms like you who say, all I ever wanted to be was a mom. And they will do anything to do that. Like, it's not a burden at all. It's this opportunity. It's a privilege.
Right.
It's a gift. And yes, sometimes we maybe have to give up or sacrifice some things, and it's maybe difficult. But when I hear you talk about it in this way, for you, so much joy.
Yes. And I lost my mom a few years before that. So it's been about 7 years now. But when you lose somebody, and I was super duper close with my mom, when you lose somebody, I think life gives you a different perspective as well.
Right.
And so I think that having an amazing mom who was very present and who, it only made me want that even more and made me appreciate that time and how limited it is when our kids are young.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that it kind of fueled the fire as well, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said your son just graduated from 5th grade. My youngest daughter also just graduated from 5th grade. So I feel like I'm entering this new season with you.
Yes.
Where I kind of feel like, oh gosh, I'm getting older. Like, I can't, I have young kids. Like, they're all getting older.
Right.
But it's also a new and exciting season. So where you are in this season, what do you feel like you're learning right now?
I think I think there's been this overall theme of just trusting the process, of trusting that things will come in the right time, in the right season, and just trusting that this vision and this dream of KidsBoost is bigger than I am, and that trusting that it will all work out. And so I think that's kind of one thing. And then the other thing that where I am right now in this season is we've been really fortunate. For a long time, I was a one-man band. So I would do everything for KidsBoost. And because of the generosity of other people and just people believing in our mission and believing in the power of kids, we've been able to hire 2 other KidsBoost staff. And one of the things that I'm excited and I'm really focused on right now is building a culture at KidsBoost. So I know our program is successful as we work with kids. We know that these kids are doing great things. The impact is huge. But what I'm kind of working on now is as we grow, because the dream is to eventually have KidsBoost all over the United States. And so I really hope to grow this, but I want to build a culture that is truly for working parents, because that was key when I started this. Parker, my son, was my right-hand man for everything. He came to me to all the events. Yeah. He, when appropriate, he came to all the meetings with me, and he's the one who showed the iPad pictures, or he was the cotton candy maker at an event. But it was because I had to. I didn't have other choices, but at the same time, I also wanted him to learn and to experience the joys of giving and serving and be a part of this, again, something bigger than he is.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I look at him and I am so proud of the lessons he's learned over the past couple of years and how important that is for him to see me work hard for my dream and to work hard, but then for him to be a part of it as well. But I truly want to build a culture where the KidsBoost employees can be a parent first, and their family is their main priority, and to really recognize that. But because I truly feel like that's the end all be all goal, right? And if they're fulfilled and able to be at home, they're going to be better employees. And so I'm soaking up a lot. I'm trying to meet with a lot of different people and talk to a lot of different people about really building that culture and really facilitating that family time and what's important with KidsBoost employees.
Yeah, well, I think that always the culture of the organization kind of flows out of the values of the executive director. You know, it's from the top down. And so seeing you live that out, no doubt that'll be an easy culture to cultivate.
I hope so. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, looking to the future, and I mean, you can answer this however you want, either personally or professionally, but when you think about the legacy that you want to leave and your sort of aspirational self, tell me a little bit about what that looks like for you.
It's a good question. It got me thinking. I think from a personal and a professional standpoint, I think my goal has always been, I want people to say that I loved well, that I love people big, and that I was there, I was present, and that I love people well. But I also think that with KidsBoost, I want a legacy. I want something to pass down. Is I want to ignite passion in kids for good. Yeah. I want to improve their self-worth and their self-esteem, but through giving. And I want to teach kids how fun it is to give, but also for them to see that whatever they love, everybody has passions, but whatever they love, they can make a difference. And that it doesn't matter how much money they have. It doesn't matter where they live, or if they're a boy or a girl, or it doesn't matter. Everybody has something to give. And I think that if we could teach our kids that at a young age, that what it feels like to give, and that giving doesn't have to be, community service right now, it's cracking me up. That's like a bad word now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like a punishment. Like you get a speeding ticket and you have to do community service, or you have to do this. Well, KidsBoost is completely different, because I firmly believe that kids want to make a difference. They just need a little bit of help. And so I want to teach kids that it's not a bad word, that serving and giving is actually fun, and the benefits, and I want it to become this lifelong passion of theirs. And I had somebody tell me many of times, actually, when I first started this, is that Kristen, we're so sorry, but I hate to tell you this, but single moms with no money and no name behind them are it's just the likelihood of you having a successful nonprofit that's sustainable is just not, it's bleak. Like, it's not going to happen. And I got told that many of times, basically because I don't have a lot of money and I didn't have a name or a big status, right?
Yeah,
exactly. That the likelihood that it wouldn't exist. And at first it felt really defeating. But then I kind of let it just fuel me. And it was like, okay, I'm going to show them. Yeah. Because I firmly believe, and this is what I'm trying to teach kids, is that it doesn't matter how much money you have, that passion can trump your wallet, in that everybody has something to give and everybody can make a difference. And so it's been one of those things where I can hear that woman's voice all the time telling me that. And it hadn't been easy. It's still not easy. And sometimes I do wish I had that, millions of dollars or that name, right? But at the same time, I hope that it inspires other people to hear their heart and to figure out what they love and their passion, and figure out what they can do with it.
Yeah. Well, and also, it just makes me so mad to hear that somebody said that to you, because that was somebody who probably had something that she could have given. Like, she could have probably lent her platform to you, or encouraged you in some way and chose not to, but instead to say, this will never work. And that's not helpful. Like, I hope that one of the things that it has done is to say to you, like, okay, how can I encourage someone forward? And you're doing that with kids, which I feel like is so pivotal and important. Like, I remember being a kid and thinking, I don't know how to do anything. Like, I don't have a talent. I'm not really great at anything. But I misunderstood what talent was. Like, I thought it was if you could sing or dance or do art. And that's not the case.
Right.
Like, there's so many other like wonderful qualities that make up a person.
Yep. And so how we do that is because I was the exact same way as a kid. I had absolutely no athletic ability, no talent, anything. But what we do is the first question we ask kids is, what makes your heart happy? Mm-hmm. And they come with a long list of things that make their heart happy. And we've had one kid that simply wrote potatoes. I'm like, we can deal with that.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm like, this is fantastic. But, most kids come with a long list of whether it be people or colors or foods or hobbies or activities. Yeah. But that, to me, it shows that kid's passion. It might not be a quote unquote talent, but it's their passion. And I have never met a kid that came with a list that we couldn't find something to do to turn into good.
Yeah.
And so, a lot of parents will say, I don't know if my child, like, we don't have any ideas. We don't know what they would do. Right. That's great. We don't need that. All we need is a kid who has a great heart that wants to make a difference.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Have you read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic?
I haven't. I need to, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's an awesome book just about creativity and that sort of thing. But I heard her on a podcast recently, and she was talking about passion. And she said she used to always tell people, follow your passion, anything is possible, follow your passion, follow your passion. But then she actually got an email from somebody where they said, that was basically, I never felt worse about myself than when I heard you speak. And she was like, what are you talking about? Like, I give these great inspirational, talks and, it's wonderful. And she always gets all this awesome feedback. And she realized that she was maybe talking about the wrong word, and that passion is really about curiosity. And so it's like, follow your curiosity. And I love that. And I think that's what you're talking about too. Like, kids, what are you curious about? What do you love? What makes you
ignite? Yeah. Because imagine if we turn this community service that's right now kind of like a punishment. Oh, you will go do this, or you have to do this many hours type thing. Imagine if we flip the switch and we said, what makes you come alive inside? Yeah. And they came to us, and did you know that we can use that for good to help a cause that's important to you? Mm-hmm. So we always ask the question too, like, what breaks your heart? Yeah. So those two questions help us figure out kind of how they're going to make a difference in the world. Yeah. And who they're going to help. But exactly like that, I think passion, I use that word a lot. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of people lately have we've talked about what it means and the root behind passion. Right. And it's just been an interesting. Yeah. It's
cool. It's just an ongoing conversation. I love it. I love what you do. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And thank you all for joining me for another edition of Mission Driven Monday. And I hope I'll see you again next week.